Hi, this is Shay Veronica, and today is a day in Barbadian history. Don't you remember the 5th of November? 'Twas Gunpowder Treason Day. I let off my gun and made them all run and stole all their bonfire away. This was a song that was sang or sung back in the day for Guy Fawkes and his failed attempt at assassinating King James I. He tried to do this particular deed with gunpowder and it failed. And celebrating that the king had survived, people lit bonfires. And months later, it was actually a day that they observed, November 5th. And Barbadians, being part of England at that time, they too got in on the celebration. Do you remember having those starlights in your hand and spinning around, and those little bombs you bought and you threw them on the ground and they exploded? Do you remember the bonfires? Do you remember the fireworks? Do you remember celebrating something that really meant nothing to you? And even when it was first proposed that it be stopped, you guys were angry. You guys complained. You guys say, well, the children really enjoy it. Well, it's a time that we celebrate. What were you celebrating? It had nothing to do with you, really, but you celebrated. And when it was time for it to go away, has it gone away? But when it was time for it to go away, Barbadians grumbled, just like you grumble now. For anything that happens, there's new money, you grumble. There's a new way of saying independence, you grumble. Everything that deals with a change, you grumble. You even grumbled when it was time for you to be emancipated from England. You grumble, you worry, how will we survive if we are not slaves? You were comfortable slaves. You must remember that. You must remember your history. You grumble and you complain and you march and you don't want change because you become accustomed to situations and you romance situations. Just like you romance Guy Fawkes Day, buying starlights for your kids. When you were poor, buying those little tiny bombs for your kids. When you were poor kids held those bombs in their hands just to see what would happen and blew off their finger, injured themselves with the starlights, poking out eyes. You did a lot of crap in your celebration, and when you become accustomed to doing something, you call it culture. It wasn't your culture. Guy Fawkes was not your culture. He did not belong to you. Okay? So I give this particular history of Guy Fawkes Day and how you celebrated it vigorously. You celebrated November 5th vigorously, and it had nothing to do with you. You romance history that has nothing to do with you. You cry out when it's time for a change. Today is November 5, and this was a day in Barbadian history. I'm Sherry Veronica.